Tonight, not guilty on all counts. That was the verdict today for former OSU running back Bri'onte Dunn.
Dunn was charged with 2 counts of rape. Tonight, he's a free man. 10 TV's Glenn McIntyre is here with reaction. Glenn? Scott, today's verdict came after jurors heard testimony from both Dunn and his accuser, who told very different stories. Bri'onte Dunn's freedom and his future hung in the balance as jurors filed into a Franklin County courtroom today. They deliberated for just under 3 hours before returning this verdict.
As to count 2, we, the jury in this case, being duly impaneled and sworn, find the defendant not guilty as to count 2 of the indictment for rape.
Dunn's friends and family were overcome with emotion. His attorney, Joe Landusky, spoke for him after.
These are very difficult cases because rape is a very, very horrible crime. It's a heinous crime. And it's just something that he didn't do.
Dunn and his accuser dated briefly in the summer of 2017. She told jurors they had broken up by August 20th when he called her at 4 in the morning for a ride. She picked him up and took him back to her apartment, where she said he raped her. Dunn took the stand yesterday and denied any forced contact.
Are you telling us that you touched different parts of her body?
Yes.
Was it consensual?
Yes.
Okay, was she fighting you or screaming like she said?
No.
The woman admitted to contacting Dunn up to 27 times after the alleged rape. Jurors heard recordings of her telling Dunn she would tell everyone she had lied about it. Dunn initially faced 3 counts of rape and a possible 33 years in prison. Before the jury was seated, prosecutors offered to drop everything in exchange for a guilty plea to misdemeanor assault.
My client has categorically rejected that offer. My client has told me, and I even asked him if they offered him a minor misdemeanor, disorderly conduct, and suspended all fines and costs, would you take a deal? And he says no, and his reason for that is because he is an innocent man. He's not just presumed innocent, but he's actually innocent.
A gamble that paid off today with Bri'onte Dunn's freedom.
That's why we have trials in this country. Thank God we live in America, and that we have our court systems to make sure that things stay fair.
Dunn's attorney says he still has dreams of reclaiming his football career with the Canadian Football League and possibly someday the NFL.
I would like to thank Attila the Q for sending me this story, which I never even heard about this story before up until today, but have heard many stories like this one. Like this one is like this type of story right here is all too familiar, where you have the football player, the athlete, the star athlete, and the involvement of another woman who they don't identify by race, but most people are going to say that she's probably white, because I tried to see if I could find her name, but they're keeping it hidden, where she'll cry that he raped her. I said if they want, like, it's something that Harvey always says, if they want to get a black man on something, they'll always accuse him of 2 things: rape or murder. Nowadays, it's mostly seemingly rape. And the one thing that let me know that this whole story was a lie was the part where it said that they briefly dated. Not the part where it said they dated, but the part where it said that they broke up. And I said, there it is right there. It says when they broke up, she probably did not want to end the relationship, but he did. And she got upset, and the only way she felt to get back at him was to claim that he raped her. And then, of course, she came back and recanted her story and whatnot, and, turns out that she lied. See, this is the double standard right here. Whenever a woman accuses a man of raping her, especially in the climate, let's just use this for this story, a black man of rape, she needs to face punishment. She needs to face jail time, because they said this guy could have went to jail for 33 years. He's in his 20s now. He would not have gotten out of jail until he was like 50 something, if he had to serve all 33 years. He should consider himself extremely lucky, because they were going to try to get him with the plea of a misdemeanor, and he gambled on it and said no and got cleared of that as well. He, in this climate right now that we're in, he would be considered a unicorn, because he got cleared of everything, of every charge. especially with how the Me Too thing is going right now, how they going gung ho for black men every which way. But see, that court of public opinion will always stand out. And now he's worried to see if if he can get his football career back on track and everything like that. But let me tell you something right now. Let's just say by some sheer miracle that he wants to get involved with football and the NFL and whatnot. This is going to follow him even if he's found not guilty. Reason being, remember Nate Parker. He had the same situation when he went to Penn State back in 1999 and that white chick accused him and his friend of raping her. He was acquitted of all charges and they brought it all the way back up when he was promoting Birth of a Nation back in 2016. So, if he somehow makes it to be extremely successful, this is going to stick with him for the rest of his life if they choose to bring it up to try to bring him down on something. They will always dig into the past of a black man no matter what. It also reminds me of that whole thing with that Harambe, the gorilla, back a couple years ago, where the mother was had the kids, she was the babysitter, the daycare provider, and one of the kids, and I think it was her son, had got into the pit, and the gorilla was dragging the boy across the water, and they ended up having to put the gorilla down. And then they couldn't find anything on her, so what did they do? They went into 10 years prior to that, to 2006, because it was 2016 at the time, and dug up some shit about the dad being in jail. And the craziest thing about it is the dad wasn't even at the fucking zoo with them. So why did they do that? I said, that's, if anything, y'all should know that mainstream media wasn't shit when they did that bullshit. Like, how are you going to dig into the past of somebody who wasn't even there when the event occurred? Y'all just needed to find something like, what did the dad being in jail 10 years prior to what happened that day when he wasn't even there have to do with what happened to his son? That made no sense. Like I said, at that point, that's when people should have realized that mainstream media was full of shit. They just needed to dig up something because, they care so much more about that damn gorilla than they did that little boy. They probably would have preferred that that boy had been shot and killed and put down instead of that gorilla. You should have seen some of the comments. That's what some of the people were saying. But back to this. Like I said, he's extremely lucky to have walked away from this and got cleared of all those charges, because in this climate, it's not, as a black man, that rarely happens. It's black men in jail right now who got falsely accused of rape right now. And then they don't get released from prison until like 20, 30, sometimes 40 years down the line, when they've lost all time with their families. They're pretty much out of their prime. They had to spend most of their life behind bars. And then they say, oh, there was a loophole. He's not guilty. Let's let him go. And you know what? To soften the blow, let's give him some settlement money to cushion his life. Because, money heals all wounds. Okay, but that's time gone. You don't get time back. You can get as much money as you want in this world, but time is irreplaceable. Once that second, that minute, that hour, and that day, week, month, year go by, that's it. You're not getting that back. So like I say, Bri'onte Dunn is very, very lucky to not have been caught up in going to jail for 33 years for something that he did not do. Now, see, here's the thing. If this was a white guy named Brian, they would have found every way to let him go, even if he was guilty. Look at Brock Turner. He was guilty of raping this chick behind a dumpster when she was intoxicated, and he only got 3 months in jail. They kept lowering his sentence. He was supposed to go to jail for a few years. Then it got brought down to 6 months. Then they finally brought it down to 3 months. And I still remember what his dad said. How can you ruin my son's life for 20 minutes of pleasure? I will never forget that. So having sex with a woman behind a dumpster while she's intoxicated and doesn't know where she's at is considered 20 minutes of pleasure. That let me know the mindset of his dad. And lets me know the type of stuff his dad probably engaged in when he was in college, just that they didn't catch him. Y'all let me know what you think about this down in the comments. Like, share, subscribe. I will leave the link to this story down in the description. I'll talk to you in the next one.